Chosen one. If you are seeing these signs, hear this with clarity and peace. You are not off course. You are not delayed. You are not forgotten. You are being forged. What has been forming in you quietly is now standing upright before heaven, and heaven is responding. This is your Kairos moment, the appointed time where preparation meets release. The habits you've built, the discipline you've guarded, the integrity you've chosen when no one was watching, these were never random. They were confirmations. Confirmations that you are aligned with the man you were always called to become. And that man already lives within you. He rises with purpose. He builds with patience. He moves with truth. He does not chase success. He embodies it. Anointed one, you owe the world no explanation. You owe your calling consistency. You owe your future stewardship faithfulness. And because you have remained aligned, a supernatural transfer is already in motion. What has been promised is not approaching, it is activating. So stand tall, walk firm, keep building with gratitude in your heart. Even if the world has not noticed yet, heaven has, wealth has, favor has. If this word confirmed what your spirit already knew, you may seal it quietly by reflecting, by sharing, or by leaving a simple comment as agreement. And stay connected. Chosen one. What is unfolding next will require the same faith that carried you here. Go forward in peace. The path is open. Chosen one. If these words are landing in your spirit, it is not by accident. There is a holy interruption happening right now. Heaven is drawing your attention not to what you lack, but to what is changing inside you. Long before money moves, before doors open, before favor manifests in visible form, something far more important begins to shift your relationship with time. And that is where this word begins, because time is the first currency God trains a man to steward before he entrusts him with anything greater. There was a season when you tolerated wasted hours. You didn't love it, but you lived with it. You let days blur together. You told yourself you would start later, that things would change when circumstances improved. But quietly, almost without announcing itself, something in you began to resist that life. You started feeling irritated by delay, uneasy with stagnation, restless in places that once felt normal. That discomfort was not frustration, it was activation. It was your spirit rejecting a pace that no longer matched your calling. Chosen one, this is a sign. When God is preparing a man for elevation, he changes how that man experiences time. You begin to feel the weight of minutes. You start noticing how quickly hours disappear. Not with anxiety, but with awareness. You realize that time is not neutral. It is alive. It is either being planted or being wasted, and once that realization settles in, you can never go back to sleep. I remember when this happened to me. Nothing dramatic on the outside, same environment, same responsibilities, but internally I could no longer sit comfortably in distraction. Conversations without direction drained me. Endless scrolling felt heavy instead of entertaining. Even rest began to change. I no longer rested to escape life. I rested to recover for purpose. That was the moment I knew something irreversible had shifted. And if you are honest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Chosen one, you no longer live for weekends. You live for vision. You've learned sometimes through pain that an hour spent building is worth more than a year spent wishing. You've watched people talk themselves in circles, complain about the same problems year after year, and you realized you didn't want to sound like that anymore. So quietly, without making announcements, you began protecting your time like something sacred. You started saying no, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you finally understand alignment. Every no you speak to distraction is a yes you speak to destiny, and heaven takes note of that. Another sign is this: your tolerance for idle consumption has dropped. You've become allergic to things that drain your energy without feeding your spirit. You don't hate people, you don't judge them, but you can no longer afford environments that dull your edge. You've learned sometimes the hard way that attention is wealth, and the man who controls his attention will always control his outcomes. Chosen one. This is not self-help language, this is spiritual law. Scripture tells us that where your treasure is there, your heart will be also. And right now your attention is revealing that your treasure has shifted. You are no longer scattered. You are becoming focused. And focus is not just discipline, it is protection. A focused man cannot be easily manipulated. He cannot be pulled into comparison. He cannot be distracted by noise. He walks with direction. And direction, hear this clearly, is already a form of wealth. You may not see the numbers yet. The bank account may not reflect what your spirit knows is coming. But direction is richer than confusion could ever be. There are people with money who are bankrupt in clarity. And there are men like you who are still building but already wealthy in alignment. Heaven always honors alignment before abundance. Another shift you may have noticed is how your thinking has stretched forward. You no longer make decisions based solely on how something feels today. You think in seasons now. You think in years. You think in outcomes. You've started asking different questions. Not, does this make me happy right now? But who does this shape me into? That is not maturity by accident. That is preparation. Chosen one, you are no longer just chasing income. You are building infrastructure. You are building habits that can hold weight, skills that compound, character that can carry responsibility. You've started measuring choices by future return, not immediate relief. And that single shift, though it may feel small, is the foundation upon which empires are built. Your relationship with money is changing too, and that matters. There was a time you feared it, resented it, or over-spiritualized it. But now you respect it. You see it clearly. You understand that money is not a master. It is a servant. It does not save. It amplifies. And most importantly, you now recognize that money follows value, not effort alone. This is wealth consciousness awakening in you. Wealth is not a number, it is a mindset. Poor minds blame and wait. Wealthy minds create and respond. And you, chosen one, have stopped waiting for permission. You have stopped asking the world to validate what God already confirmed in your spirit. You are beginning to move first, to take responsibility, to say, it starts with me. That is power, and power always precedes prosperity. If this is resonating, stay with me, because this is only the beginning of the signs. What comes next is about growth momentum and the unseen laws that are already working in your favor. Chosen one. Now that your relationship with time has shifted, something else has begun to move quietly but powerfully beneath the surface. Momentum. Not the loud kind that announces itself, but the kind that heaven recognizes. The kind that builds when obedience becomes consistent and discipline becomes identity. This is where many fall away, but you did not. You stayed. And because you stayed, momentum has started responding to you. There was a season when motivation carried you. You felt inspired one day and empty the next. You moved when you felt good and stalled when you didn't. But something has changed. You no longer depend on emotion to move forward. You move because you decided, and that decision is weighty in the spirit. Heaven does not respond to hype. Heaven responds to alignment. Chosen one, you have replaced reaction with intention. Where others consume, you create. Where others chase validation, you build value. You are no longer scattered across too many directions trying to prove something to everyone. You are focused. And focus is the hammer that breaks the chains of poverty, poverty of mind, poverty of discipline, poverty of direction. I've seen this pattern again and again. The moment a man stops reacting to life and starts designing it, everything begins to reorganize around him. Opportunities don't chase him because he's lucky. They align with him because he's stable. And stability is attractive, not just to people, but to provision itself. You've also begun thinking long-term, and that is another unmistakable sign. You no longer live in emotional impulse. You don't make decisions just to feel relief. You build systems. You think in years, not days. You ask, how will this serve me later, instead of, how does this soothe me now? That shift separates boys from builders. Chosen. One systems are prophetic. They say, I believe I will still be here. When you build a system, you are declaring faith in your future, and faith always activates heaven. Scripture reminds us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Every system you build is evidence that you see something others don't yet see. You're not just building income. You're building infrastructure, skills, routines, standards, values. You are becoming the kind of man who asks, how does this pay me in 5 years, instead of, how does this make me feel today? That is not cold. That is wise. That is stewardship. And stewardship always comes before transfer. Your mindset around money has matured as well. You no longer romanticize struggle, nor do you idolize wealth. You see money clearly now, as a tool, as an amplifier, as a reflection of value multiplied through structure. You've stopped trading hours for dollars as your only strategy. You've started multiplying value through ideas, through leverage, through systems. That is wealth consciousness. And wealth consciousness always precedes wealth manifestation. Chosen one. Hear this carefully. Wealth is not a number you chase. It is a frequency you become, and your frequency has changed. That is why you no longer blame your background. You no longer wait for permission. You no longer look for external signs to validate internal knowing. You have become the sign. You move first. You take responsibility. You say, it begins with me. That is power, and power always comes before prosperity. Another sign is this: you have become obsessed with growth. Not loudly, not performatively, quietly, intentionally. You read more, you learn more, you ask better questions, you listen differently. Conversations that once felt entertaining now feel empty. Not because they're wrong, but because you're being stretched. You're replacing gossip with mentorship, complaints with commitments, theory with execution. And execution, even when imperfect, creates momentum. Momentum is one of the greatest assets a man can possess. Not speed. Speed burns out. Momentum compounds. Every disciplined day you stack, every focused hour you complete, every hard choice you follow through with adds weight to your character. And weight creates gravity. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. Provision feels it. This is why doors are starting to shift around you. Not all at once, not dramatically, but subtly. Conversations change. People respond differently. You're taken more seriously. Not because you demand respect, but because you carry it. You are becoming serious now. Not serious in mood, but in mission. You smile more, not because life is easier, but because you're aligned. You don't panic when things go wrong the way you used to. You don't make excuses. You don't collapse under pressure. You adjust. You respond. You move forward. Even the way you speak has changed. You no longer talk about goals the same way. You walk like someone who expects to win. You carry yourself like a man who has already been there in his mind. Every wealthy man I've ever studied had this one trait in common: they walked in advance of their results. They didn't wait for success to show up before acting worthy of it. They moved like the vision was already real. They planned like provision was already promised. And now, chosen one, you are doing the same. You visualize, you speak life, you guard your words. Because you know words create. Your language is shifting. You no longer say I can't maybe or hopefully. You say I will, I am, and it's done. You've erased doubt from your vocabulary. You've stopped repeating failure stories. You've made your voice a prophetic instrument, and when a man controls his language, he controls his reality. Stay with me, because next we must talk about your circle, your environment, and the unseen laws of proximity that are now rearranging your life. Chosen one. If you've been feeling a quiet but undeniable shift in your relationships, your environment, and even your sense of belonging, this is not something to fear. This is not loneliness. This is separation. And separation is one of the clearest signs that elevation is near. Before God multiplies a man publicly, he simplifies him privately. You may have noticed that certain conversations no longer fit. Rooms you once felt comfortable in now feel tight. People you once explained yourself to no longer understand your silence. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. Your spirit is growing, and growth always creates tension with what cannot expand alongside you. Chosen one proximity is power, and heaven is very intentional about who and what remains close to a man who is being prepared for wealth. Poverty is not just a lack of money. Poverty is a mindset that spreads through association. Discouragement, distraction, comfort addiction, victim thinking, these things are contagious. And because you are being prepared for stewardship, not survival, your environment is being refined. I know this part can be uncomfortable. I've lived it. There is a strange grief that comes with outgrowing people you still love. You don't hate them, you don't wish them harm, you just can't move at the same pace anymore, and you stop trying to drag people where they don't want to go. That is maturity. Chosen one bigger vision requires tighter circles, not larger crowds, smaller, sharper alignment. You're learning that you don't need to be the smartest man in the room. You just need to be in rooms where growth is normal, discipline is respected, and excellence is the baseline. That is why you are becoming a student again, not just of money, but of principle, of legacy, of energy, of systems. You are no longer asking, how do I make quick money? You are asking, what kind of man builds something that lasts? And that question alone puts you ahead of the majority. Another sign you are walking the path is how adversity now responds to you. Where pressure once broke you, it now shapes you. You no longer interpret resistance as rejection. You interpret it as training. You have stopped resenting failure. You study it. You extract wisdom from it. You alchemize pain into progress. This is critical, chosen one, because great wealth requires a strong container. And that container is character. Money magnifies what is already there. If discipline is weak, money exposes it. If integrity is compromised, money amplifies it. That is why heaven does not rush transfer. Heaven develops the man first. And you are being developed. You've become responsible with your word. You finish what you start. You show up even when the feeling is gone. You don't rely on motivation to keep commitments. You rely on identity. And identity-based discipline is rare. But trust always precedes transfer. This is a spiritual law. When you can be trusted, wealth finds you. Because wealth is energy, and energy flows to structure. Structure is built through habits, vision service, and consistency. And you are building structure now. Chosen one, you are no longer guessing. You are executing. You are no longer hoping. You are building. And building attracts builders. Builders attract resources. Resources attract multiplication. There comes a moment in every man's journey when he begins to feel the shift. Not because of what he has, but because of who he is becoming. That shift is quiet. It does not come with applause. It comes with standards, higher standards, private standards. You start doing what most won't, not to prove anything, but because your future demands it. You wake up differently. You think differently. You respond differently. You are no longer chasing money. You are becoming the kind of man money chases. And here is a truth few will say out loud. The man who is truly wealthy never leads with money. He leads with value, with clarity, with usefulness. The world is full of people who want to be rich, but the world is built by people who are useful, chosen. One usefulness multiplies wealth potential. Every time you sharpen your skill, refine your thinking, and increase your reliability, you expand your capacity to receive. That is why your habits are changing. You eat differently now, not just for pleasure, but for energy. You rest differently, not to escape, but to recover. You scroll less. You read more. You choose expansion over entertainment. These are not small details. These are indicators that your identity is shifting. Identity is the engine of wealth. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you allow. A poor man justifies bad habits. A wealthy man builds around discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is protection. It protects your time, your focus, your emotions. Without it, nothing great can be sustained. With it, everything becomes possible. If your mornings are becoming more structured, your environment more intentional, your calendar more organized, understand this clearly: it is no accident. It is preparation for stewardship. You cannot carry wealth while thinking like a man trying to survive. You must begin thinking like a man carrying legacy. And legacy-minded men don't argue over small things. They don't chase validation. They don't measure worth by applause. They are grounded in principle. They understand that wealth is not just about how much you earn. It is about how much you build, how much you keep, and how much you pass on without forcing the next generation to start over. Your relationship with work has matured as well. You no longer ask for easy. You no longer chase shortcuts. You understand that leverage only works when value is present. You now see hard work as sacred training, not a punishment to escape, but a process to master. Every repetition is building competence, and competence is currency. You are no longer distracted by trends. You are no longer jumping from idea to idea. You have chosen your vehicle. You have chosen your mission, and now you are digging deep. Because surface-level effort produces surface-level results, but depth creates dominion. Stay with me, chosen one, because next we must talk about emotional mastery, discernment, and the unseen awareness that separates men who build wealth from men who lose it. Chosen one. There is a deeper shift happening now, one that many never reach because it requires honesty, restraint, and courage. It is the mastery of your inner world. Wealth does not respond to chaos, even if chaos is loud and talented. Wealth responds to order, and order begins within. You may have noticed that your emotional reactions are changing. Where you once reacted instantly, now you pause. Where you once panicked, now you observe. Where you once took everything personally, now you investigate. This is not detachment. This is discernment. And discernment is a form of intelligence that money respects. Emotional intelligence is not weakness. It is a weapon. It allows you to move strategically when others move impulsively. It allows you to make decisions based on principle rather than pressure. And that difference, that quiet strength, is what makes you a man who can lead a man, who can build a man, who can multiply. Chosen one. Multiplication is the true language of wealth. Not just multiplication of money, but multiplication of time, skill, clarity, and influence. Poor minds consume. They chase the next thrill, the next distraction, the next hit of comfort. Wealthy minds multiply. They delay gratification in favor of expansion. They invest energy instead of draining it. And you have crossed that threshold. That is why you are studying instead of scrolling. That is why you are building systems instead of escaping stress. That is why you are beginning to see every action as either an asset or a liability. Every habit compounds for you or against you. There is no neutral ground anymore, and once you see this truth, you cannot unsee it. You are now making decisions from your future self, not your current feelings. This is the pivot most never make. The moment when vision becomes louder than emotion, when purpose outweighs comfort, when outcome matters more than ease. That is not just growth. That is preparation for abundance. You are no longer just setting goals. You are building structure. You track your inputs. You audit your time. You measure your energy. You observe your patterns. You are not obsessive. You are responsible. And responsibility is the foundation of freedom. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The man who cannot be responsible cannot be rich. Wealth will always flee disorder, but it is drawn to stewardship, to intentionality, to discipline. That is why your self-talk is changing. You no longer destroy yourself with words when you fall short. You learn, you recalibrate, you speak life, you declare truth. You understand that you must lead yourself before you can lead anything else. And leadership always begins in the mirror. Every morning you choose the voice you follow, and now you are choosing the voice of power, not arrogance, not ego. Power rooted in clarity, power rooted in self-command. You are building yourself with language that strengthens instead of shames. That is mastery. You no longer need hype. You've outgrown motivation without movement. Flashy lifestyles with no foundation no longer impress you. You respect consistency. You admire humility. You seek wisdom. You would rather be silent and successful than loud and empty. And that depth of character is a magnet for lasting wealth. Let's talk about the unseen, because this is where many misunderstand what is happening to them. If you are seeing these signs, you have likely become more sensitive to energy. You can feel when something is off. You can detect when a person's words don't match their spirit. You can sense when an opportunity looks good on paper but feels wrong in your gut. That sensitivity is not weakness. It is discernment sharpening. Discernment is heaven's early warning system, and the wealthy man trusts it. Not emotionally, but consciously. You are becoming aware, not paranoid. Aware of your choices, your patterns, your blind spots. Awareness gives you the power to adjust before damage is done. This is what separates the man who keeps wealth from the man who loses it. It is not intelligence alone. It is awareness, the humility to adapt, the courage to ask better questions, the willingness to evolve when others become arrogant. If you are seeing humility grow in you, understand this: you are on sacred ground. The path to wealth is sacred. It is not for the crowd. It is not for the impatient. It is for the committed. The man who stays when it is hard. The man who decides when others delay. The man who sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That is you now. You may not see all the results yet. You may still be in early stages. You may still be climbing. But inside you already know you are different. Your mind is sharper. Your intentions are cleaner. Your behavior is more deliberate. You are not who you were, and you are not going back. That is wealth. Not just having, but becoming. Every sign you are seeing now is proof that your capacity is expanding. You are becoming the kind of man who can handle wealth, manage wealth, multiply wealth, and pass on wealth. Not just money, but mindset. And that chosen one is rare. If you are still seeing the signs, and more importantly still living them, then hear this truth. Wealth is no longer a possibility for you. It is becoming an inevitability, not through entitlement, but through alignment. You are no longer chasing riches like a beggar hoping for a blessing. You are earning the right to expect prosperity because your thoughts, decisions, actions, and standards are now rooted in abundance. Look at your mornings. You no longer rise in panic. You rise with purpose. You prepare instead of react. You lead your day instead of letting it lead you. Every intentional morning is a seed planted, and seeds compound quietly before they break the surface. Wealth does not flow to the scattered. It flows to the deliberate, and you have become deliberate. Stay with me, chosen one, because next we must talk about identity solitude and the internal authority that makes wealth come looking for you. Chosen one. Everything we've spoken about so far has been preparation, but now we arrive at the core, identity. Because before wealth ever shows up in your hands, it must first settle in who you believe yourself to be. Not in what you say publicly, not in what you post or promise, but in the quiet place where no one is watching. That is where the true shift is happening. You may have noticed your language changing, not intentionally at first, but naturally. You no longer say "I'm trying." You say "I'm becoming." You don't say "maybe one day." You say "it's already done. I'm catching up to it." That is not delusion. That is alignment. That is the voice of a man whose inner world has already accepted a future his outer world has not yet caught up to. Chosen one. When your identity changes, reality begins rearranging itself to match. Energy does not lie. The moment your mind is made up, life starts responding differently. Not because people suddenly favor you, but because you now move with coherence. You walk like it's done. You work like it's done. You plan like it's done. And coherence is magnetic. Even in silence you are building. You no longer need constant feedback to confirm you're on the right path. You've developed the discipline of showing up without applause. You've detached from the need for approval. You've become your own accountability. And that self-respect, that integrity, is what wealthy men are built from. Wealth without character is short-lived, but wealth built on identity, intention, and internal authority lasts for generations. And heaven is far more interested in generational impact than temporary success. Let me say this clearly. Chosen one, it is no longer a matter of if, it is a matter of when. Because you no longer make decisions from your current limitations. You make them from your future self. You don't ask, "What can I afford?" You ask, "What does the man I am becoming choose?" That single question changes everything. You've stopped budgeting around fear. You've started investing in faith. Not reckless faith, but informed faith. Every dollar has a purpose now. Every task carries meaning. Every conversation is intentional. You are no longer drifting through life. You are directing it. And because of that, wealth has no choice but to enter your atmosphere. You speak differently now. You communicate with clarity. You use full sentences. You own your time. You protect your energy. You move with rhythm, not rush. You think ahead. You ask deeper questions. You no longer wait for life to assign you value. You assign it yourself. And when a man knows his value, the world responds accordingly. You don't beg for worth. You walk in it. Another sign that identity has shifted is your relationship with solitude. There was a time you feared being alone. Silence made you uncomfortable. Stillness felt empty. But now solitude has become sacred to you. It is no longer loneliness. It is your workshop, your training ground, your vision board, your altar of refinement. The man who can sit in silence and build in the dark is the man who can handle abundance in the light. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But you faced yourself, chosen one, and you didn't flinch. You grew, and that growth is priceless. You've stopped outsourcing discipline. You no longer blame others for your habits. You don't need reminders to do what you said you would do. You honor your word, even when no one would ever know if you didn't. And when your private behavior aligns with your public declarations, that is wealth. True wealth is congruence. One mind, one mission, one man. No more split identity, no more double standards, no more pretending in public while compromising in private. You've developed vision now, not the kind sold on posters, but the kind written into your spirit. You see your future before it is visible. You speak life into dry places. You build when there is no audience. You plant seeds while others complain about the weather. And because of that, you will reap what others only dream about. Not by luck, not by inheritance, but by law. The law of cause and effect. The law of belief. The law of responsibility. The law of mental clarity. If you are truly walking this path, there is one more sign that cannot be ignored. You have become difficult to move. Delay no longer shakes you. Rejection no longer defines you. Setbacks no longer break you. Why? Because you've trained your mind to interpret pain as preparation. You extract value from adversity. You alchemize resistance into results, loss into leverage, delay into direction. That is not natural thinking. That is trained thinking. And trained thinking is expensive. You've made excellence your default, not something you perform when it's convenient, but who you are when no one is watching. You've made integrity your compass, purpose your currency. You no longer talk about goals the same way. You talk about systems, because systems produce, goals inspire, but systems build. And you are building. You're no longer chasing big wins. You're stacking small ones. You understand the compound effect of daily discipline. You are not building for next week. You are building for legacy. You are not here to impress. You are here to last. And that long game posture is what makes wealth inevitable. Stay with me, chosen one. Because in the next part, we will step into the final confirmations, the unshakable posture, and the moment when alignment turns into visible transfer. Chosen one. Now we step into the phase where what has been forming quietly begins to solidify permanently. This is the stage where your posture becomes unshakable, not stubborn, not rigid, unshakable. There is a deep difference. Stubbornness resists reality. Unshakable posture is anchored in truth. You may have noticed something profound. Situations that once destabilized you no longer carry the same power. Delays come, but they don't derail you. Criticism appears, but it doesn't define you. Uncertainty rises, but it doesn't steal your peace. This is not emotional numbness. This is internal authority taking root. Chosen one authority always precedes transfer. Heaven does not release weight to a man who collapses under pressure. It releases weight to the one who can stand without explanation. And you have learned how to stand, quietly, firmly, without needing validation, without needing to prove yourself to those who do not understand the assignment on your life. This is one of the most dangerous upgrades a man can receive. You no longer rush to defend your name. You let time reveal truth. You no longer argue with misunderstanding. You let alignment speak. You no longer panic when others move faster. You trust your pace because you know your path is measured, not random. That calm is not passive. It is strategic. I want you to hear this clearly, chosen one. The man who cannot be rushed cannot be controlled, and the man who cannot be controlled cannot be limited. That is why this season feels slower to some on the outside, but heavier on the inside. Weight is being added to you. You have become steady. Where others overreact, you assess. Where others dramatize, you simplify. Where others burn energy proving themselves, you conserve energy building. This is the posture of a man prepared for increase. Because increase requires containment, and containment requires emotional mastery. Another sign of this posture is how you handle silence. Silence no longer threatens you. It no longer feels like absence. It feels like incubation. You understand now that some of the most powerful movements happen underground. Seeds do not grow in the spotlight. They grow in darkness. Chosen one. Your silence is not emptiness. It is compression. You have learned when to speak and when to hold your words. You no longer overshare vision with people who cannot carry it. You no longer leak energy through unnecessary explanation. You guard what is sacred, and that discernment is protecting your future. I've walked this path. There were seasons when I wanted to announce progress to prove that something was happening, but wisdom taught me restraint. Not everything needs to be seen to be real. Some things must mature before they are revealed. And if you're honest, you've learned that lesson too. This is why your confidence feels different now. It is quieter, heavier, less reactive. You don't need hype to stay consistent. You don't need external praise to keep moving. You have internal confirmation, and internal confirmation outlasts external applause. Chosen one. This is what makes wealth begin to look for you. Because wealth does not chase desperation. It aligns with stability. It does not respond to noise. It responds to structure. And you have built structure within yourself. Another shift is happening in how you view opposition. Where once you feared resistance, now you expect it. Not pessimistically, but intelligently. You understand that resistance is confirmation, that friction is feedback, that obstacles reveal where strength is being forged. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What is this training me for?" That question alone changes everything. You have stopped resenting pressure. You use it. Pressure sharpens focus. Pressure clarifies priorities. Pressure exposes what matters. And because you no longer run from it, pressure no longer controls you. This is the posture of a man who cannot be broken by success or failure. Chosen one, let me say something that may surprise you. Many men fail not because they cannot handle struggle, but because they cannot handle success. Success amplifies what is unresolved. But you have been resolving things internally. You have been closing loops, healing patterns, correcting habits, strengthening foundations. That is why transfer is approaching. You have also stopped needing outcomes to validate obedience. You do what is right because it is right. You show up because you said you would. You follow through because your word matters to you. That level of integrity creates spiritual gravity. Gravity attracts. Opportunities are beginning to align differently now. You may not see them fully formed yet, but you can sense them approaching. Conversations are shifting, access is changing, timing feels intentional. Doors that once felt sealed now feel closer than ever. But hear this carefully, you are not meant to chase these doors. You are meant to be ready when they open. And readiness is not about skill alone. It is about posture. You are no longer frantic. You are prepared. You are no longer rushing. You are positioned. You are no longer asking if you are enough. You are becoming enough through consistency, discipline, and clarity. This is why comparison no longer hooks you the way it used to. You've learned that comparison is a distraction designed to pull you off rhythm, and rhythm is sacred. Rhythm is how you sustain momentum without burnout. You move now with rhythm, not urgency, with intention, not anxiety, with patience, not delay. Chosen one, Patience is not waiting. Patience is controlled movement, and controlled movement always outperforms chaotic speed. This unshakable posture you are developing is the final internal requirement before visible transfer. Because once a man cannot be moved internally, nothing external can destabilize him. You are becoming that man, and as this posture locks in, you will notice something subtle but undeniable. Life begins responding differently. Less resistance, clearer signals, cleaner opportunities, not because the world changed, but because you did. Stay with me, chosen one. In the final part, we will bring this full circle. We will speak about alignment becoming manifestation, about confirmation becoming clarity, and about the moment when what has been forming in you finally begins to show itself through you. Chosen one. This is where everything comes together, not loudly, not suddenly, but undeniably. This is the moment when alignment begins to express itself in form, when what has been built in secret starts to show itself in structure, in opportunity, in provision. Not because you demanded it, but because you are now able to carry it. There is a sacred law at work here. Manifestation follows readiness, not desire, not desperation, readiness. You have crossed a threshold. You may not have marked the date. There was no announcement, no dramatic sign in the sky, but something has settled in you, a certainty, a calm knowing. You are no longer asking, will it happen? You are asking, how do I steward what's coming? That question alone confirms the shift. Chosen one. Heaven does not release weight to anticipation alone. It releases weight to preparation. And preparation has been your quiet obedience when no one was watching, your discipline when it wasn't rewarded, your consistency when it wasn't applauded. That is why this season feels different. You are not striving, you are standing. You are not trying to convince life to bless you. Life is beginning to respond to who you have become. The signs you've been seeing were never meant to excite you. They were meant to steady you, to let you know you are no longer early and you are no longer late. You are aligned, and alignment is timing perfected. You may still be building, you may still be refining, but the internal debate is over. You are no longer negotiating with doubt. You are no longer explaining your vision to fear. You have made peace with the process, and peace is the final confirmation before release. Chosen one, let me speak plainly now. Wealth is not something you are about to chase. It is something that is about to recognize you. Recognition does not always look like money at first. Sometimes it looks like access. Sometimes it looks like clarity. Sometimes it looks like the right conversation at the right moment. Sometimes it looks like peace where chaos used to live. But make no mistake, recognition precedes transfer. Because wealth is not just financial. It is energetic. It is relational. It is structural. And it flows toward order. Look at your life now. The chaos is leaving, the noise is reducing, the distractions are losing their grip. Your calendar is cleaner, your mind is sharper, your decisions are simpler. This is not coincidence, this is consolidation. Consolidation always comes before expansion. You are not meant to carry everything into the next season. You are meant to carry what matters. That is why you have been releasing attachments, old habits, old narratives, old expectations. You are not losing anything valuable. You are making room, and what is coming requires room. Chosen one, there is a kind of wealth that does not announce itself with excess. It arrives with stability, with confidence, with quiet authority. And when it comes, it stays. Because it is not built on impulse, it is built on congruence. True wealth is congruence. One mind, one mission, one direction. You are no longer split between who you say you are and how you live. You are no longer negotiating between comfort and calling. You have chosen, and choice is power. That is why delay no longer frustrates you. Rejection no longer wounds you. Setbacks no longer define you. You understand now that everything has been training. Every obstacle, every slow season, every closed door was shaping your capacity. You are not behind, you are forged, and forging is not gentle, but it is precise. You have become a man who builds even when no one is watching, who plants seeds while others complain about conditions, who speaks life into places that look dry, who keeps showing up without guarantees, and that posture makes wealth inevitable, not dramatic wealth, not reckless wealth, but lasting wealth, the kind that builds families, not just lifestyles, the kind that creates options, not just appearances, the kind that passes on wisdom, not just resources. Chosen one, you are no longer chasing success, you are carrying responsibility, and responsibility is what success is drawn to. This is why your standards have risen, why excellence has become your default, why integrity is no longer optional, why systems matter more to you than shortcuts. You understand now systems produce, habits compound, identity sustains, and you are sustained. If you are still seeing the signs, and more importantly still living them, then hear this final truth with clarity and calm. Wealth is no longer a question mark in your life. It is a trajectory. You may not see the full picture yet, but you don't need to. You see enough to keep walking, enough to keep building, enough to stay disciplined when no one is watching, enough to stay humble when things begin to work. That is the balance few maintain, and that balance is why you were chosen. Chosen one, do not rush this moment. Let it settle, let it anchor, let it mature, because what you are stepping into is not a season of hype. It is a season of harvest. And harvest does not come to those who shout the loudest. It comes to those who stayed consistent the longest. You stayed. And because you stayed, alignment has become manifestation. The path you are on is real, the signs are accurate, and the future you've been preparing for is already responding. Stand firm, walk steady, keep building. Wealth has already taken notice. Chosen one. If you are seeing these signs, hear this with clarity and peace. You are not off course. You are not delayed. You are not forgotten. You are being forged. What has been forming in you quietly is now standing upright before heaven, and heaven is responding. This is your Kairos moment, the appointed time where preparation meets release. The habits you've built, the discipline you've guarded, the integrity you've chosen when no one was watching, these were never random. They were confirmations. Confirmations that you are aligned with the man you were always called to become. And that man already lives within you. He rises with purpose. He builds with patience. He moves with truth. He does not chase success, he embodies it. Anointed one, you owe the world no explanation. You owe your calling consistency. You owe your future stewardship faithfulness. And because you have remained aligned, a supernatural transfer is already in motion. What has been promised is not approaching, it is activating. So stand tall, walk firm, keep building with gratitude in your heart. Even if the world has not noticed yet, heaven has, wealth has, favor has. If this word confirmed what your spirit already knew, you may seal it quietly by reflecting, by sharing, or by leaving a simple comment as agreement. And stay connected, chosen one. What is unfolding next will require the same faith that carried you here. Go forward in peace. The path is open.